I love deadlines. I like the whooshing sound they make as they fly by. There is a theory which states that if ever anyone discovers exactly what the universe is for and why it is here, it will instantly disappear and be replaced by something even more bizarre and inexplicable. There is another theory which states that this has already happened. I don't believe it. Prove it to me and I still won't believe it. To give real service you must add something which cannot be bought or measured with money, and that is sincerity and integrity. I may not have gone where I intended to go, but I think I have ended up where I intended to be. Space is big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. I mean, you may think it's a long way down the road to the drugstore, but that's just peanuts to space. The major difference between a thing that might go wrong and a thing that cannot possibly go wrong is that when a thing that cannot possibly go wrong goes wrong, it usually turns out to be impossible to get at and repair. I seldom end up where I wanted to go, but almost always end up where I need to be. Isn't it enough to see that a garden is beautiful without having to believe that there are fairies at the bottom of it too? He was a dreamer, a thinker, a speculative philosopher, or, as his wife would have it, an idiot. Any man who can hitch the length and breadth of the galaxy, rough it, slum it, struggle against terrible odds, win through, and still knows where his towel is clearly a man to be reckoned with. See first, think later, then test. But always see first. Otherwise, you will only see what you were expecting. Most scientists forget that. Every country is like a particular type of person. America is like a belligerent, adolescent boy, Canada is like an intelligent, 35-year-old woman. Australia is like Jack Nicholson. It comes right up to you and laughs very hard in your face in a highly threatening and engaging manner. Cyberspace is, or can be, a good, friendly and egalitarian place to meet. The guide is definitive. Reality is frequently inaccurate. If you try and take a cat apart to see how it works, the first thing you have on your hands is a non-working cat. What the computer in virtual reality enables us to do is to recalibrate ourselves so that we can start seeing those pieces of information that are invisible to us but have become important for us to understand. Anyone who is capable of getting themselves made president should on no account be allowed to do the job. To be frank, it sometimes seems that the American idea of freedom has more to do with my freedom to do what I want than your freedom to do what you want. I think that, in Europe, we're probably better at understanding how to balance those competing claims, though not a lot. The difficulty with this conversation is that it's very different from most of the ones I've had of late. Which, as I explained, have mostly been with trees. It is a rare mind indeed that can render the hitherto non-existent blindingly obvious. The cry, "I could have thought of that," is a very popular and misleading one, for the fact is that they didn't, and a very significant and revealing fact it is too. As a child, I was an active Christian. I used to love the school choir and remember the carol service as always such an emotional thing. Ever since Newton, we've done science by taking things apart to see how they work. What the computer enables us to do is to put things together to see how they work. We're now synthesized rather than analyzed. I find one of the most enthralling aspects of computers is limitless communication. The usual method of finding a little dongly thing that actually matches a gizmo I want to use is to go and buy another one, at a price that can physically drive the air from your body. It is a well-known fact that those people who must want to rule people are, ipso facto, those least suited to do it. Anyone who is capable of getting themselves made president should on no account be allowed to do the job. We have normality. I repeat, we have normality. Anything you still can't cope with is therefore your own problem. A common mistake that people make when trying to design something completely foolproof is to underestimate the ingenuity of complete fools. If it looks like a duck, and quacks like a duck, we have at least to consider the possibility that we have a small aquatic bird of the family Anatidae on our hands. Human beings, who are almost unique in having the ability to learn from the experience of others, are also remarkable for their apparent disinclination to do so. In the beginning the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move. The mere thought hadn't even begun to speculate about the merest possibility of crossing my mind. I briefly did therapy, but after a while, I realized it is just like a farmer complaining about the weather. You can't fix the weather, you just have to get on with it. Books are sharks, because sharks have been around for a very long time. There were sharks before there were dinosaurs, and the reason sharks are still in the ocean is that nothing is better at being a shark than a shark. I find the whole business of religion profoundly interesting. But it does mystify me that otherwise intelligent people take it seriously. If somebody thinks they're a hedgehog, presumably you just give him a mirror and a few pictures of hedgehogs and tell them to sort it out for themselves. Of course you can't trust what people tell you on the web any more than you can trust what people tell you on megaphones, postcards, or in restaurants. Working out the social politics of who you can trust and why is, quite literally, what a very large part of our brain has evolved to do. He hoped and prayed that there wasn't an afterlife. Then he realized there was a contradiction involved here and merely hoped that there wasn't an afterlife. Most of the time spent wrestling with technologies that don't quite work yet is just not worth the effort for end users, however much fun it is for nerds like us.